How are you doing, Larry?
I am
My
well.
good friend.
Yes. Good to be
Unlike
with
the
you.
Zelensky regime.
He's hanging on.
By a thread,
Yeah,
as
we'll
I
see
think.
how much longer he lasts. Things aren't going well for him.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I hope you had a good Easter. Good Easter to everybody that I forgot about last week. Larry, I would like to start today just with a quick question about the situation in Florida. I just read about a mass shooting that happened there some days ago in a university.
Oh, up at Florida State. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a non-event.
Yeah. Okay.
No coverage. Nobody's talking about it.
All
The
right.
kid had some mental problems. He grabbed his stepmother's gun. It's still not clear why he was shooting the place up. But more of a mental health issue. It wasn't anything ideological.
Okay. Well, just seems like those kind of things happen a lot in the United States. People really should start looking at this.
Well, they happen, but and most often than not, it's usually it's a issue of mental illness.
Okay.
They say, "Oh, I'll take the guns away. I'll take the guns away," and then you get what you get in the UK: people stabbing people.
That's what I always say.
So the instrument of death isn't the issue. It is, why are these societies become so dysfunctional with so many mentally disturbed people, and failure to deal with that. That's the real issue.
Yeah, that's true. I always remember. I always point out the fact that remember the what was it? Was Christmas, New Year's Eve on South France, I guess Nice, where a guy drove a truck over like
Yeah.
80 people.
Yeah. It was what, 5-6 years ago now?
Yeah. What are you gonna do? You're gonna forbidden trucks?
Yeah, make
You cannot
everybody
drive
walk.
trucks.
Make everybody walk. Yeah, it'd be a healthier country then.
Yeah, that is a good point.
Yeah.
Always good points on things. See,
So there's an upside there.
there's upside. Yeah, Larry. Uh, uh, Things are starting to get boring. Hegseth just had this second signal leak. Um, I found it weird and interesting at the same time. I mean, to me, it's almost like a no-go, but at the same point, I see some, coincidence of mistakes. How do you see this happen?
The signal's irrelevant, really. That's not the issue. The issue is that three of people that Hegseth hired, they got fired, got walked out of the building, accused of leaking information, but it was never clear what they supposedly leaked, number one. And one of those individuals, Dan Caldwell, there's a great interview by Tucker Carlson with Caldwell that was just posted yesterday. And, Caldwell had considered himself a friend of Hegseth. He was a Marine combat veteran. And he firmly denies leaking anything to anybody. And what's interesting is, if you're conducting an investigation into leaks, you want to, maybe access somebody's cell phone records. Who are they talking to? Look at their email accounts. But apparently there was no actual formal investigation done, and these individuals were not given a list of charges or any specific accusations. They were just marched out. And, Hegseth hired them. And then he turns around and starts calling them disgruntled employees. Just really, what a pussy. He doesn't man up to take responsibility for what he did. And he wasn't man enough to call them in and say, hey, this is what's going on. This is what didn't give them no due process, no chance to defend themselves, no loyalty whatsoever. Talk about a snake. Despicable. So I'll make a bold prediction. Hegseth will not be in that job by the end of this year. He'll be gone.
I watched your interview with the judge, and also I was watching yesterday's video from Alex Cristoforo, and one thing that came to my mind when I was doing the live stream yesterday about this signal leak was that the first one was actually Walt's fault. So they're kind of, yeah, well, Hegseth was in there, but the first one was kind of a Walt's mistake, and Waltz is kind of quiet recently. But I found it interesting that they are pushing like second leak on Hegseth.
Well, it's not a leak. Well, what was said on the conversation? You don't know. You haven't seen it. On the first one, you actually had the transcript.
Exactly,
okay?
the print.
So all this is I think one of the three people that got marched out of the office had been part of that Signal chat and mentioned it. That, hey, Hegseth was discussing all this different information on Signal, and I was part of that, but I didn't leak that. So I'm not. It's not so much a defense of Hegseth, but let's not conflate it into something that it is not. All this is they're using the allegation that he was communicating over Signal, which I fully believe. And everybody said, "Oh, you shouldn't do that." We haven't seen the information to know was it actually classified or not. But this is all more of a campaign to get rid of Hegseth, and he continues to give him ammunition. If somebody's shooting at you, don't give them ammunition to use against you. Take it away. Keep it for yourself. I thought you'd be talking about the big story with the death of the Pope yesterday. You're in Rome. You're right there, right?
Yeah, that was just introduction. I'm not in Rome. I'm slightly closer to Rome than you are.
Okay.
But yeah, let's go. Let's forget about it. That for me was almost a non talking about. I just wanted to hear a second opinion on that, but mostly everything you said today was what I said yesterday in my live stream. My
we
thoughts
don't want to bore your audience with repetition here.
I mean, we cannot go too far also.
Yeah. No, I mean, the problems with Hegseth, at least one of the people, this Caldwell, who was marched out of the building, he was considered a strong supporter of Donald Trump's policies, but he was also a vocal opponent of starting a new war, particularly attacking Iran. And Tucker Carlson suggested the reason they went and got rid of him was the neocon element within the Trump administration wants to get rid of those who don't want to who want to choose peace as opposed to going to war with Iran. So if that's true, then this is, I call that a troubling sign.
Yes. And this is more or less what I've been thinking. They are trying exactly to get rid of the people since the beginning with that woman. I forgot her name. I'm terrible with names.
Tulsi
Gabbard, exactly. Since the beginning, they didn't want her to step in. And she is at least was one of very outspoken person against war. So
yeah, and she's they're attacking her again. Nikki Haley, there's she qualifies for the 4-letter C word, and it's not cute. Okay. She really is a despicable, awful human being, and she would happily embroil the United States in a war if she could. It's just really, unfortunately, my country, the United States, is just crazy. We're out of our minds. We're like a deranged drug addict. and we're going to do harm to ourselves and to others.
Yeah, yeah. Almost a perfect connection with the mass shooting on Florida. Just these people mass shoot millions
Yes.
outside. Well, yeah. So yeah, let's move on to the big subject of the week, the death of the Pope. Um, I sent you uh, a a post. Well, actually, a oh dear God. Okay, I sent you a text. I don't know if you had the time to read, but perhaps later. It's a very nice analysis about succession of the Pope and what can it mean in this moment. But I would like to hear from you. I saw what you said on the judge as well. What do you think about this exact moment? And we have a new vacuum of power, even if for a small period of time, and plus the readjustment of the new policies from the new Pope,
Yeah.
which I
Um, it is. It's. I don't think the Pope matters, frankly. My own personal view. I think it's largely an irrelevancy, and there's no one. I'm not trying to insult Catholic friends and those who are devout believers, but I mean, step back and honestly say, what the hell did this guy do particularly over the last 3 years? He was infirm, uh, suffering from his advanced age. It was not a high functioning person. You know, you, you you sit on your ass in a nice, comfortable room. You have people that work for you will write out statements saying, "Oh, I condemn the genocide of the Palestinians. Oh, the persecution of the Ukrainian church by the Zelensky government. That's wrong." Yeah, those are nice statements to put out. That's it. You make some trips somewhere where wave the hand and run long religious services, but what are you actually doing? And that's what I find troubling, that he was, because of his age and his infirmities, he wasn't able to go out there and lead the troops, as it were. um I think the coincidence of sort of his ill health and decline over the last 3 years, it coincides with the genocidal war in Palestine and the war in Ukraine and the threats of a new war with China and the threats of a new war with Iran. So, and people say, "Oh, I'm being unfair in my criticism." Well, so be it. But I think there's a lot more that someone in the position held by Pope Francis, El Papa, um, would have, for example, when they were persecuting and arresting the patriarch, the metropolitan, as he's called, in Kiev. Even though it's an Eastern Orthodox, and the Eastern Orthodox and Catholic churches have been split apart now for 1,400 years. It would have been a great gesture if the Pope had dispatched one of his senior officials who could actually walk and physically put up with the hardship to go stand in solidarity with that metropolitan, to stand for the Christians who are being persecuted. I mean, the Christians are getting attacked in Israel by the Israelis. They're prevented from worshiping at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. And just issuing a strong letter from Vatican. "Oh boy, we're really upset." Okay, take the paper, and when you run out of toilet paper, you can use that. So
just
yeah, why didn't they organize through the Catholic Charities a food relief column? Force the Israelis to attack emissaries of the Pope. Create that kind of confrontation. Expose the Israelis for the genocidal murderers that they are. And he didn't do that. So as I said, he's gone. It's like, put your hand in a bucket of water, take your hand out of the bucket of water and look at the water. What's changed? Well, your hand's not there, but the water, is still the same. So Pope Francis has been pulled out of the water. We'll wait to see who gets in next, but it's not gonna happen overnight, unlikely. And we'll find out if they're going to go the woke route, or if they're going to, but are they going to hold up to tradition and embrace the religious heart of what the Catholicism is supposed to be about?
Yeah, Pope Francis is was a particularly how can I say, liked person in Brazil. Yet the Catholic Church in Brazil have been going down and down and down for a long time already, and which opened a lot of space for the neo-Pentecostal churches.
Yeah, the Pentecostal evangelicals, they've grown quite a bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there is one thing that I really hope for, and I mean, it's a lot of the fault for the church, for the Catholic Church for a long time already, because they really neglected, the less favored in Brazil. I can say like that, for a long time, and the evangelicals just embraced that, prisoners, all that things. So hopefully they can get, as I was just telling you before we come, I'm not a very religious person myself, but I do see and understand today how bad it was for the country that this was neglected like that. So hopefully we can get something that at least brings back the flame of the religion into the countries that they neglected, and to South America, Latin America in general. That's a very important piece of the Pope. I mean, it's a very important piece of glue to the communities.
Well, look, I mean, let's be candid about it. Bergoglio is, I think, his true name, was the first guy outside of Europe to be named a pope. So before, it was sort of an exclusive European white guys club, but for many years it was Italian only. Then they got out the side of the Italians, and then you got a Polish pope with John Paul. But this and Ratzinger, Germany, wasn't he one? So the anticipation now is you could see somebody out of Asia or Africa, maybe the Middle East. Yes. Unfortunately, the whole thing is it's very much political, and Hollywood is doing its best to try to influence things. They've got there's a movie out this last year about a pope who dies, and them trying to choose, going through the whole process of choosing the replacement. And, the surprise ending, they end up choosing a transgender. They didn't know it was a transgender.
Really? No, really?
Yeah, I'm not kidding.
Now I have to. I don't know if I have to watch this movie or if I have to get away from it.
What it's doing is it's pretty slick, sophisticated propaganda, because they go through all of these machinations, and we've got all these politics of different people striving to get ahead. You got one African candidate who's sabotaged because he, surprise, an African who's engaged with sexual misconduct. Now, his problem was he was heterosexual. See?
Oh yeah, that's wrong.
Yeah, he was a bugger in little boys. Okay, Sorry, but
That's misconduct in there.
yeah,
I see.
that was out. We can't have that. Uh, uh, a male pope who likes women, unheard of. So, yeah, I'm gonna burn in hell for that one. Uh, but
I'm pretty sure God, whatever, it's having fun watching this right now.
yeah, but anyway, it goes back and forth, and finally, the one voice that speaks up, that's the one voice of calmness, the voice of reason, the voice of peace. And then at the end, they find out, oh my God, you had a hysterectomy, which means you're a woman. And, so, but what it was, the reason I say it's effective propaganda, because it's there to, it lulls you in. And so at the end, you're going, yeah, man, transgender is just normal. It's no weird thing. Denying nature. Yeah, that's not weird. Pretending,
Not weird at all.
pretending that just because you have a penis doesn't mean you can't have a baby. Well, actually, it does. But and it's
It's
like,
funny because nobody calls these people, anti science or negationism or whatever.
show me
Denialist.
show me a transgender dog. Pick any breed you want. But anybody that's ever owned dogs, I own a male and a female. Yeah, they're completely different critters, and completely different plumbing too, by the way. But this diverting from the whole discussion of the Pope's death. I know in some sectors he's praised. Jeffrey Sachs had some very kind words to say about him. But again, I'm looking at it for myself. Put a gun to my head and say, tell us the last thing that the Pope said about the war in Israel. You'd have to go ahead and kill me because I don't remember. And that's my point. It's not consequential. It's not the kind of thing that you remember that captures the world's attention.
I actually yesterday went through the video of his last appearance. It was not even him that read the text because he was almost unable to speak.
Right.
But I found interesting. You made the point, of course. I would never look at that if it wasn't for that for the circumstance of his death. But it was interesting that, yeah, of course, they, oh yeah, our Palestinian brothers are suffering, our Israeli brothers are suffering, always, Ukrainians are suffering, all those things. But the big point that they, really spent some time speaking about was, I have a mosquito, was, the rise of anti-Semitism in the world. And I was like, is this guy talking about, Semitism like Palestine people being murdered, or anti-Semitism of people that are looking at Israel in a bad way? So
people getting, the more heinous the crimes of the Zionist state, the more anger and animosity that's generated towards them. That's not because of some hatred of Judaism or Jews. That's a justifiable hatred of the Zionist insanity. Call it for what it is. It's despicable and disgusting. I mean, again, the entire concept. We're special. God chose us, not you. We've got the tight relationship with God. You're just like an adopted outsider. So you stay. I mean, that's the whole mentality. That's not the message of Jesus. Because we're just past Easter, and I don't mean to go theological on you, but the message of Jesus was his sacrifice, the death and resurrection, as you call it, some believe is a payment for sin, is for everybody. It doesn't matter. And again, but it's something in human nature that we always want to have a little special club where, we're the only members because we're special, and we'll only let certain people in. You see it in fraternities and sororities, secret societies. You got to have only a select group. Not everybody can be part of us. Yeah. That whole, you want to call that whole mentality demonic? That's probably a good term for it. Instead of saying, hey, we want our doors open, we're going to treat everybody as equal. In other words, they don't get treated worse or better. They get treated the same opportunity.
Yeah, this it really caught my attention that they really put an extra piece of attention on this part. So let's hope for good days ahead. We started the word.
We're going to be interesting days. We'll see how good they are.
Yeah, Chinese interesting.
Yeah.
But not about China. Moving to Iran. I just watched your videos today as well, and it seems what was unlikely to happen, it's kind of happening. A decent conversation between the parts, Iran and United States.
We'll see. I keep going back and forth. There's a report out just in the last hour or so that Trump got on the phone with Bibi Netanyahu and said, "Man, we agree about not one thing we disagree on." So,
palm face.
If Trump is sincere about negotiating a peace agreement with Iran, that agreement's going to have to contain at least one aspect of allowing nuclear in the uranium enrichment for medical science, for research. I'm sure that Israel wants to get rid of all uranium processing in Iran. I don't know if you saw, there was the RT correspondent, Maria Finashina, I think is her name, asked the Foreign Ministry press spokeswoman a question today. He said, well, basically, so you don't want Iran to have nuclear weapons. Well, why is it that you should be allowed to have them? And oh God, the woman had a meltdown at that point. She went on a full time. Iran's attacking everybody. And I'm going, huh?
What?
Yeah, I remember Iran dropping bombs in Beirut, Lebanon. Oh, no, that was Israel. Bombs in southern Lebanon. Oh, yeah, that was Israel. Syria, troops, invasion. That was it. Talk about projection. And Israel, she was presenting this image of, we're just a poor, peaceful state and everybody's picking on us. And we're just minding our own business and they won't leave us alone. Meanwhile, they're stealing land from Palestinian settlers, and they're murdering babies, and they're bombing buildings full of civilians. They're monsters.
And posting on social. Yeah, they are proud of that.
Absolute monsters. And it's creating such tension that the many Jews within Israel that are opposed to the Zionist genocidal obsession are speaking out with greater fervor. And there's the talks in the Hebrew press of a civil war within Israel. So it's not a good situation. And yet here is the United States. We are the biggest enabler of Israel, of the Zionists. They completely own the United States. Trump just named a policy advisor who, for God's sake, had been in the Israeli Defense Force. Okay, she's an Israeli citizen. She's a dual passport holder. No. We wouldn't accept that if it was a dual Iranian passport holder or a dual Chinese passport holder or a dual. We wouldn't put up with that, but we put up with it with Israel. Cut me a break.
Yeah, it's really amazing seeing these things happening. I swear to God, this looks like a soap opera. I'm watching
Yeah.
it's unbelievable how things are happening.
Telenovela.
Telenovela. It's unbelievable. Mexican one, which is not the best quality. Sorry for the Mexicans. I like you guys, but Brazilian soap operas used to be the best. Uh, it's unbelievable. You have like Juan Manuel Sevilla that just do El Donald Trumpo. I don't know if you've seen this on Truth Social.
No, what is it?
Eldon, it's a satire on Truth Social, a satire from Donald Trump.
Oh,
And it's Donald Trump with a big mustache on. So El Donald Trumpo.
okay.
I just every day, as you said, oh, we have some small touch of hope. Things are going to get better. People are starting to listening. People are starting to take logical decisions, and then we hear some stupid stuff, completely stupid, completely stupid stuff. It's unbelievable. It's really unbelievable. Larry, just to finish this, let's about China. How is the tensions now in the United States about China on the economic policies, of course, and even perhaps going to actually military friction. How do you see things going in the United States now?
Well, it's not going the U.S. way. I think Trump made a major mistake, major miscalculation. And he's surrounded by people who foolishly believe that we got China over a barrel, that China is economically vulnerable, and that all we got to do is cut them off from our market. And by God, they're going to come begging to, please, please, master, don't beat me. Please let me back in. I'll be a good slave. I mean, that's the mentality over it. It's crazy because the Chinese are going, those idiot Americans, they've insulted us. They think that they can dominate us. They think that they can blackmail us. We're going to go our own way. And if they have to take an economic hit to do it, so be it. They are buying gold up every day right now. Up to this point, they have not sold off the U.S. treasuries they hold in a significant manner. I mean, they've been selling them. But my understanding is the big move that happened over the last week came out of Europe, not out of China. But China is firmly part of BRICS. They're solidifying their economic relationship with Russia, with Indonesia, with Malaysia, with Vietnam. And that's, they're going to become, China through BRICS will become an alternative to ASEAN, which up to this point had been, a U.S.-led effort to cultivate ties with folks in the Pacific and Indian Ocean. But, I think the whole tariff war is going to backfire on Trump.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you're following closer the South American situation, but Brazil, weirdly enough, Brazil is a BRICS country. Weirdly enough, just after the last BRICS summit, there is this guy who is the presidential conciliere for foreign affairs. His name is Celso Amorim. He came out on TV and said, well, this new Silk Road, the Belt and Road Initiative, it's not very interesting for Brazil. I didn't understand why he did that. Sounded very weird, but okay, let's pretend we don't know what happened around the planet. After the tariffs, it just, changed 180 degrees, or 360 if you're an Alina Baerbock.
Yeah.
They just moved into, well, this corridor from Peru to Sao Paulo. It's not such a bad idea. Perhaps we should go on that. So I don't know what's the aiming on the tariff
So let
plan.
me be clear, because so prior to Trump launching the tariff war, Brazil was downplaying BRICS and seeming to say, "Yeah, we gotta let's go closer with the United States," basically. And then after that, Brazil, like, screw you, we're getting back into bed with China.
Pretty
Because
much the same guy. I'm talking about the same guy who is the presidential consigliere.
yeah. No, I understand. And one of the things a lot of people don't appreciate is that the U.S. supplied a significant number of soybeans to China. Now those are tariffed. Well, China's got two other sources for soybeans, or three other sources: Russia, Canada, and Brazil. And
Just
Brazil
2
has
weeks
been.
ago.
Go ahead. Say what?
Just 2 weeks ago, they went to Brazil and they were, just finishing good businesses with Brazilian soybeans and
Yeah.
meat.
Yeah. So if anything, what Trump has done is he's accelerated the growth of BRICS and made it clear to everybody, we can't trust those damn Americans. So
Yeah, that's been my view since the beginning. We already discussed this for the last, I don't know, 3 weeks, 2-3 weeks. I mean, if the guy wants that, what can I say? Go ahead.
Right.
Have good luck.
Yeah.
Larry, I think I am done for today. Do you think there's something that I missed on interesting subjects for the week?
Yeah. The peace talks between the United States and Iran.
Well,
No,
that's part of the negotiations, no?
It's happening tomorrow, supposedly in Oman. The technical experts are to meet and work out the details about enrichment levels. We'll see if does that come off? Does that happen? Is it successful? If it's successful, then it paves the way that on Saturday, when Witkoff and Iran's foreign minister Arakchi, when they meet in Oman again, they might actually come to a deal. And so if they come to a deal, that dramatically reduces the chances of a war with Iran. The problem is there is such a strong element here in the United States, in the Department of Defense, in the Central Intelligence Agency, in the White House national security structure, that want to circumvent Trump and start a war with Iran. So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, I saw some reports that Israel was trying to bring the United States to bomb Iran, but then the United States back off, and then Israel wanted to do a minor bombing.
Well,
I don't understand exactly why and how.
Yeah, there's that's a topic for a much longer discussion if you want to have it. But Iran is in a stronger position now to fend off an Israeli attack or a U.S. attack than it was on October 27th. And I say that with confidence. And the problem is most U.S. analysts that are reading the intelligence say the exact opposite. And I don't know what they're getting bad information. And the problem is once you get locked into a position based upon false assumptions, you're gonna really hurt yourself. So we will know again by I'm living Saturday to Saturday. We'll know it's Saturday by like 4:00 my time in the afternoon, whether we're headed for war or headed for peace. And as far as the Ukraine situation goes, Ukraine is just being defeated all across the line of contact from north to south. So
I didn't even bother going there because at this point is almost irrelevant to discuss Ukraine.
Well,
Almost.
true.
Almost. Not 100%, but I thought there could be more interesting subjects to talk about.
Sure.
Larry Johnson, my good friend, thank you very much once again. Hope you have a good week, and hope to see you next week.
Okay, Marcelo. Thanks, man.
Bye-bye.
Bye.